It's truly an honor to be here with so many aspiring entrepreneurs. I see a room full of dreamers, creators, risk takers, and it reminds me of myself many years ago when I had a small dream that no one really believed in. Today I want to talk to you about something that is absolutely critical in business and life: taking risks. You know, people often ask me, Jack, how did you build Alibaba? How did you make it from a small apartment in Hangzhou to one of the largest companies in the world? The answer is simple but not easy. It's all about taking risks. I wasn't born into a wealthy family, and I didn't have connections or powerful friends to get me started. In fact, I failed a lot. I failed my college entrance exams not once but twice. I applied to Harvard 10 times and was rejected 10 times. I even applied to work at KFC, and while 23 out of 24 applicants were hired, guess who was the only one who got rejected? Yes, me. And you know what? I'm proud of those failures. They didn't break me. They taught me resilience. And more importantly, they showed me that I had to create my own path. I couldn't rely on traditional systems. I had to take risks and venture into the unknown. That's what entrepreneurs do, right? But let me tell you something. It's not easy to take risks when you're comfortable. Imagine sitting on a warm couch in the winter with a cup of tea in your hand, the heater on. Now someone tells you, hey, let's go outside and climb that mountain. Are you going to jump off the couch and rush out? Probably not. Why? Because you're comfortable. Taking risks requires stepping out of that comfort zone. When I started Alibaba, I left behind a stable job as an English teacher. Teaching was safe, it was predictable. But I had a crazy dream to build an internet company in China at a time when no one in China even knew what the internet was. People told me, Jack, you're crazy, this will never work. But I believed in it. I was willing to leave the comfort behind and embrace the uncertainty. Now let's talk about fear for a moment. Fear of failure is the biggest barrier to success. When I started Alibaba, I had no idea what I was doing. There were no handbooks or how-to guides on building an e-commerce giant. I had a team of 18 people, most of whom had no clue what the internet was, and yet here we were, trying to build an internet company in China. People laughed at us. They called me foolish. Some even said, Jack, why don't you just go back to teaching? Let me tell you, when people doubt you, it's easy to start doubting yourself. You think, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just fooling myself. But here's the thing. You can't let fear of failure stop you. The first 3 years of Alibaba were extremely tough. We made zero profit. I had to convince my team every single day that our dream was worth it. Imagine walking into the office with a smile, telling your employees, we'll make it, when inside you're terrified that maybe you won't. That's taking a risk, risking your ego, your reputation, and everything people think they know about you. But I never gave up. Why? Because failure is just a stepping stone to success. Each failure teaches you something new. And when you're not afraid to fail, you're free to try new things, to experiment, and ultimately to innovate. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most people think risk-taking is about jumping off cliffs and hoping you don't fall. But it's not just about bold moves. It's about trusting the process. When we first launched Alibaba, the e-commerce landscape in China didn't exist. We were literally building the tracks while the train was moving. We weren't making any money, but I told my team, be patient. We're in this for the long haul. Everyone in my industry wanted to make a quick buck, but I was willing to risk time and patience for long-term success. Sometimes taking a risk means sacrificing short-term gains for long-term rewards. I wasn't looking for overnight success. I was building something that could last. And this is where many entrepreneurs fail. They're so focused on instant results that they're afraid to play the long game. But real success doesn't happen overnight. It's like planting a tree. You have to water it every day, even when you don't see immediate growth. You must trust that if you keep nurturing it, eventually it will bear fruit. So my advice to all of you is this. Don't be in a rush to succeed. Trust the process and be willing to risk your time and patience. Another important lesson I learned was that you can't do it alone. As entrepreneurs, we often think we have to be the smartest person in the room. We're afraid to delegate or let others take control because, well, what if they mess up? But here's the thing. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I surrounded myself with people who were smarter than me. I wasn't afraid to take risks with my team. I trusted them to make decisions, even when I wasn't 100% sure they were the right ones. And guess what? Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes we failed, but every failure was a lesson. You have to take risks with people, with relationships. Some of the best decisions I've made came from listening to my team, even when I wasn't completely convinced. That's the beauty of collaboration. It's a risk, but it's a risk worth taking. Now let's talk about the funny side of risk-taking. Because believe me, when you take risks, you're going to have some hilarious failures along the way. I remember one time early in Alibaba's history, we were trying to get funding from investors. I flew to Silicon Valley, met with these big shot venture capitalists, and gave them my best pitch. I thought I nailed it. I was so confident, but at the end of my pitch, one of the investors looked at me and said, "Jack, this will never work in China." I was devastated. Here I was, a young guy from China, thinking I was going to revolutionize the internet, and these guys who were the top in their field were telling me it wasn't possible. It was a reality check, but it was also kind of funny. Because now, looking back, I realize how wrong they were. Sometimes, when people tell you no, it's not a reflection of your idea. It's a reflection of their understanding. So, don't be afraid to laugh off the nose and keep pushing forward. If you're not failing, you're not taking enough risks. And here's another funny story. When we first launched our website, it looked terrible. We didn't have a professional designer, so we just put up something that worked. I remember showing it to my wife, and she looked at me and said, "Jack, is this what you're risking everything for?" It was a humbling moment, but it also made me laugh. Sometimes you have to laugh at your own imperfections. Entrepreneurship isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about taking risks, making mistakes, and laughing through the failures. If you can't laugh at yourself, trust me, you're going to have a hard time. Let me tell you a secret. Innovation is risky, but it's also the only way to stay ahead. If you're not innovating, you're falling behind. And innovation means taking risks that other people are too afraid to take. When we started Alibaba, the concept of e-commerce was completely new in China. People didn't trust the internet. They didn't trust that they could buy something online and actually receive it. But we took that risk. We built systems that guaranteed safety. We educated people, and slowly but surely, we changed the mindset of a nation. Today, everyone buys online, but back then it was a risk. We had to challenge the status quo. And that's what innovation is, challenging what's already been done and asking, how can we do this better? You have to be willing to risk being wrong. Not every idea is going to work, but every idea is a step forward. Some of my best innovations came from failed experiments. But if I hadn't taken the risk to try something new, we would never have grown. Now, I want to touch on something a bit more emotional, believing in yourself. The biggest risk you can take is betting on yourself. When I was starting Alibaba, there were so many moments when I doubted myself. I wasn't a tech guy. I didn't have the experience. I didn't know if this crazy idea would work. But deep down, I believed in myself. I believed in my vision. And that belief carried me through the tough times. Here's something important. Other people will only believe in you if you believe in yourself first. If you don't take the risk to believe in your own dreams, why should anyone else? I see so many young entrepreneurs who have great ideas but don't fully believe in themselves. They're afraid of what people will say. They're afraid of failing. But the truth is, the only failure is not trying. When you take the risk to believe in yourself, amazing things happen. You start to attract people who share your vision. You start to see opportunities where others see obstacles. But it all starts with that first step, the risk to believe in yourself. In conclusion, I want to leave you with this. Taking risks is the essence of entrepreneurship. Without risks, there's no reward. Without failure, there's no success. Every great business, every great innovation, every great entrepreneur, you'll find a story of risk behind them. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to take the leap. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. The biggest risks often lead to the biggest rewards. But even if they don't, you'll learn, you'll grow, and you'll become a better entrepreneur because of it. So go out there, take risks, make mistakes, and most importantly, believe in yourself. The world is waiting for your ideas, for your innovations, for your dreams. And the only thing standing between you and success is the courage to take a risk. Thank you.